Welcome to the Sports 2.0 show. I'm Cierra Clark here with Ryan, Amber, and Jaya. We're going to be talking some NBA. Make sure to subscribe to our channels on YouTube, the Sports 2.0 show. And we're going to start off with the Bucks versus Suns. The Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Phoenix Suns on Wednesday with a 109 to 103 final score. Giannis had a real clutch block against Ayton in the fourth quarter. About a minute left in the game, and Chris Middelton finished with 40 points with 10 down the stretch. Out of Giannis and Middelton, who was the Bucks' more clutch player? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Well, until the block, I had to give it to Middelton. But because the block was so impressive and iconic, I got to give it to Giannis. It was a moment where I don't think any Bucks fans are going to forget, whether they win the series or not. The fact that he was covering Booker on the play and pushing the complete opposite side of the basket to block Ayton on the alley-oop attempt was remarkable. I think it's even better than LeBron's block in the finals against the Warriors in 2016. It was something special to watch. And you saw images come out of the block, different angles. It was incredible to see. But not to take away anything away from Middelton, he was great last night. Put up over 40 points. Was very clutch for the Bucks, but there are just some moments in sports that really fans are going to remember, and I think that block is definitely right up there with one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen.
Definitely one of those plays that'll end up on the highlight reels forever for the NBA Finals. All right, Amber, we'll go with you. Out of Giannis and Chris Middelton, who stood out the most in Game 4?
Yeah, just like everyone else, my favorite moment of the game was that Giannis block on Ayton. It was absolutely insane, and I think it cemented the Bucks' victory. But looking against that, I actually think Middelton had the overall better game. I think it was essentially Booker versus Chris Middelton for a majority of the game up and down the court. Again, Giannis and Middelton were both incredible, but I've got to give it to Middelton for the overall best performance.
All right, and Jay, a few weeks ago you asked, who's the Batman and Robin on this team? Well, out of those two players that you mentioned, out of Giannis and Middelton, who had the best game in Game 4?
Now, when it comes to Batman and Robin, Giannis is still the Batman, you guys. There's nothing wrong with being Robin. Every Batman needs their Robin, and Chris Middelton is the perfect Robin for Giannis. He played a great game. He dropped a playoff career high of 40 points. But when it comes to who's the face of this franchise and who's going to be that iconic part of Game 4 that everyone's going to remember, it's going to be that clutch block of Booker shot in the fourth quarter. And it's potentially what won them this game and tied up this series. And, no one can deny that play was just incredible. Giannis also had some great big-time defense. I was disappointed that he didn't get to put up another 40 points like he has the past two games so that he could try and get to my MJ's record. But he still put up 26 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. So I'm going to have to say who was the most iconic? Giannis. But I do agree with Amber in the fact that Chris Middelton did play the better game.
All right, so
I agree. If the question was who played better, I'd give it to Middelton. But because the question says who stood out, nothing stood out more than that block.
Right.
So everyone on the same page pretty much on that. Giannis stood out the most. Moving over to the Suns side, Devin Booker dropped 42 points, but he didn't score a single three. And then Chris Paul committed 15 turnovers. What needs to click next for the Suns? This is not an ideal situation.
Yeah, so I think the big problem was Devin Booker being sidelined. Once he was sidelined, he absolutely lost his rhythm. And for me, that was the turning point of the game where I really saw that it was going to go to the Bucks. He sat on the sideline for so long because he had 5 fouls, and arguably he probably should have had more than that, at least another one. Of course, that one where he certainly grabbed the Bucks jersey. You could clearly tell that was supposed to be a foul, but that's a completely different story. I think that even though it was a super exciting game, I do think the Suns played very sloppy. A lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes, and that's something they're really going to have to look at going into this next game.
And what part specifically do you think that Devin Booker lost his rhythm? Was it he was just sitting out too long?
Yeah, like he wasn't into the game because he had to sit out for so long. You could really tell the difference once he got back onto the court. Like I guess that little bit of rest, even instead of it like propelling him and making him like re-energized, he was just kind of more sluggish, in my opinion.
All right, Jaya, for you, what needs to click for the Suns?
Well, Devin Booker did still have an incredibly insane comeback from that last game 3. I mean, he was really locked in, especially in the first half. I mean, by the third quarter, he had already made history for most points scored in his career postseason at 532 points. But I do like Amber's point about his foul trouble. A lot of people have really been talking about those last 2 fast breaks where Booker committed his 6th foul and the refs refused to call it. It was kind of obvious. And a lot of people have been giving the refs crap for wanting the Suns to win so bad. So before we keep talking about all of this, I wonder what you guys think about that. Do you think the refs were kind of wilding out?
I think the only explanation for why they didn't call it is because the fans at the end of the day want to see the best players on the court. And I don't get me wrong, it was completely a foul, should have been out of the game, no question about it. But who here really wanted to see Booker out of the game? I don't think anybody wanted us to see Booker.
That's true.
Plus, I mean, it's the playoffs. The refs are always more lenient when it comes to playoffs. Like, that is very well known.
Yeah, there's like, sometimes there's like calls where like, okay, it could go either way. I think this was completely obvious. There were like 2 or 3 plays where like, okay, that's a foul. I don't care if it's the finals. I don't care if it's pickup. I don't care if it's a regular season game. That's a foul. But like I said, at the end of the day, the fans want to see the best players on the court. But that being said, like Booker has to be smart about it. He's really lucky he didn't get out of the game. But when you have 5 fouls, why are you hugging Drew Holiday on a fast break? That just wasn't smart. But lucky for him, he didn't get called for the foul.
I think since Devin Booker has also established himself so well in these finals that the rest might think, I don't think he would intentionally do that. So they might be giving him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and the fans not reacting too well to that, in my opinion.
That's a great point. Sorry, go ahead, Jaya.
Oh no, you can go.
I was gonna say like that's a great point. When players reach a certain status in the league, I mean the refs are a lot more lenient. You look at Jordan back in the day.
LeBron.
You look at Kobe. You look at LeBron. Obviously not putting Booker at that level yet, but I think he's on his way to become a superstar if he's not already. I mean, like I said, it was a little bit of a superstar treatment by the refs. I don't see any other explanation as to why he wasn't called for that foul. If it was against anybody else on the court, I think they would have called that foul. So that's just my opinion.
All right, and Ryan, back to you. Devin Booker dropped 42 points, not a single 3, and 15 turnovers by Chris Paul. What needs to click for the Suns?
I think Chris Paul needs to get out of his own head. I don't know what's going on. After Game 1, he looked great. And then ever since Game 1, he just looked like a shell of himself. And it's not like he's just not producing. He's hurting his team rather than helping his team. And 15 turnovers is uncalled for. And something that Chris Paul prides himself on is taking care of the ball. And he's not able to do that. And I know some people are saying maybe he's feeling the ill effects of COVID. Well, if you guys recall, in Game 6 against the Clippers, to close out the Clippers, he had a ridiculous game. I forgot how many points he had, but he didn't look like he was tired in that game. He was at Game 1. He didn't look like he was tired in that game. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the moment's too big for him. Let's not forget, it is his first NBA final. And there are nerves, no matter how much playoff experience he has. But he just needs to get out of his own head. And I think in Game 5, especially at home, he's gonna play a great game.
All right, and the Phoenix Suns return back to Phoenix for Game 5, but with the way the Bucks are playing, the series is currently tied. Do you think that the Bucks will step ahead and take the lead? Jaya, we'll start with you.
Now, honestly, despite what happened yesterday, I still think that was the Suns' game to win. Had they not had these hiccups and errors with Booker's foul trouble and Paul's turnover situation, they would have won the game. I mean, yes, that block was amazing, but they were battling it out. They were tied at the half, and it was a very, very close game up until that final minute. So I still am going to take the Suns. I know better than to doubt Giannis and the Bucks. I wouldn't completely count them out, but it was a really great fight and such a close game between the two of them with the Bucks at home. So I think once the Suns get back to Phoenix, like Ryan said, they're going to be able to steal Game 5 as long as Chris Paul's playing at the level that we know that he can play, gets out of his head, kind of doesn't have that pressure that he's feeling or whatever it was that was blocking him. And if Booker shoots at the level that he was, if he scores at the level that he was scoring in this game, then I think they should be good to go, especially with that home court advantage.
Absolutely. Such a mental sport, and the Phoenix crowd, as we've seen, gets absolutely wild. So that's going to be a fun one to see if they're going to be able to bounce back to where they were. Amber, for you, do you see the Bucks taking the lead in the series now in Game 5?
I do not. I'm going with Jaya as well, and I'm sticking with the Suns again. Even though I think CP3 was so incredibly disappointing. Like, his performance, I did not expect for it to be like that bad. He needs to step it up if the Suns are going to take this game. And I think Booker really needs to stop focusing on the refs and making these sloppy mistakes, and actually pay attention to the game. But because the series is heading back to Phoenix, and I think that the Suns are going to be able to use that momentum, so I see them winning this game.
All right, so we got two of y'all for Phoenix. Ryan, for you, do you see the Bucks taking the lead in the series?
I got to go with my counterparts. I have the Suns in this game. If Game 5 was in Milwaukee, I'd probably take the Bucks. But as you can see, home court really, really matters. Each home team has won all 4 games. I see Chris Paul playing a lot better. I think there's too much talk about Booker, Booker's foul. Listen, even though he should have been fouled out, he wasn't. He had 42 points. I don't think he could have done much else in the game. Even when he was rested, he went back in the game. He wasn't missing shots. The only thing he needs to do is just keep doing what he's doing, and I think he will. As far as DeAndre Ayton goes, he played great on defense. Got a bunch of rebounds, but I believe he scored in single digits points-wise. So he needs to step it up a little bit and be more aggressive on the offensive end. I love what I'm seeing from Cam Johnson. I think he needs to shoot the ball a little bit more. Mikal Bridges is playing decent basketball as well. And I love Drake Crowder's aggressiveness, especially from beyond the arc. I got the Suns in this game, but I think it's going to be extremely close. And because the Bucks have so much confidence right now, I don't see them giving this game away at all. I think it's going to be Suns are going to have to take it from them, but the Bucks won't give it away.
All right, and as we mentioned those points, let's move over to some betting lines provided by FanDuel. We'll go over some with you guys, but the Bucks are listed as +4 and the Suns are listed as -4 for the spread. The money line is listed as +144 for the Bucks, -172 for the Suns, and the over/under is at 218.5. I'm going to go ahead first, and I'm picking the Bucks to cover. I want to see how well they'll do when they return to Phoenix. This last game was pretty close, and I think it'll be close again. I don't think that they're going to win by a blowout, especially in Phoenix. I do think the Suns will really try to fight, but I could see the Bucks taking over, especially by the way that they've just been playing recently. But either way, I think it's going to be a pretty close one. So I'm only picking the spread. I'm not going with the money line or the over/under today. Ryan, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
So I got to agree with you. I like Milwaukee to cover, but I got the Suns in the money line. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. I see it maybe coming down to 2 or 3 points here. Like I said, I think it's going to be very back and forth. I don't think it's going to be one of those games where one team or the other takes a big lead and the other team comes back. I think it's going to be just head-to-head, going back and forth. Game 5, the series is tied 2-2. It just comes down to heart and who wants to win. And I think because the Suns are at home, like I said, I think it's gonna give them the slight advantage that they need. But with being said, I like the Bucks to cover, especially because I know it's going to be a close game.
To add to your point, I actually do agree with that as well. I do think the Bucks will cover, but to clarify, I don't think they're going to win, but I think it'll be very close because, like you said, it's Game 5. It's in Phoenix with a crazy crowd. There's going to be lots of passion on both sides, and it's going to be really fun to watch, and it's just going to be a really good game. Jaya, we'll start with you. What are your predictions for this game?
Well, first of all, might I say, if you predicted the Bucks to cover last game, that 4.5-point spread, I'm honestly jealous of anybody that made that bet. I don't think many people did that one, but if you did, that's pretty crazy. I'm going to go with you guys and say that the Bucks will cover as well. For sure. I definitely think that it will be a close game, like you said. It's going to be a fight. And I definitely, have not counted the Bucks out 100% yet, but I will go ahead and take the Suns on the money line. They're going back home. A lot of their little issues are not typical things that we see, especially not from Chris Paul. I don't think we're going to see that from him again. I think he's going to get his act together. I think Booker's going to keep scoring and doing what he does, and I think they're going to be in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and take them on the money line, and I'm going to take the over. I think 218 points is definitely doable for these teams.
All right, so Jay is putting a lot of money all over this game. Amber, we'll start with you. What are your predictions for this upcoming game?
Yeah, I'm not going to change the tune here. I'm going to take the Bucks to cover, but I am going to take the Suns on the money line to win. Like you guys said, Chris Paul's elite. He's not going to let these same issues that happened in this game happen again. And I see we have a comment here that says good teams win, great teams cover, and I think that's very accurate for this series.
Yes, and they are both definitely two great teams. And we'll see who'll cover up next. And I want to thank everybody for watching the Sports 2.0 show. Make sure to subscribe on our YouTube channels for Jaya, Amber, and Ryan, and Cierra as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys soon.